Bar-Tal live on YouTube, waiting for NFL Insider Alex Bryant to join me for NFL Draft show that we're going to have tonight on the channel. As I'm going to share this stream right now with everyone so they can join me.
What's up? Am I on?
You are, there we are. Good evening.
What's up, man?
What's up? Long time not seen one another.
Yeah, it's your fault.
Well, wasn't this for vacation. Did some NFL
What
scouting.
what happened?
I did some NFL scouting in DC. So
Oh, look at you.
yeah. So
What
anyway,
kind of
feel
scouting did you
free.
do?
Huh?
What kind of scouting did you do?
Family scouting. Just family scouting. No, I'm kidding. I went on vacation to DC, had a great time, but with younger children's, not mine, it's difficult to go live on YouTube when
Yeah, I got
everyone
you,
jumping at you, singing, and all of that. So anyway,
bro. Yeah, my kid's
feel
in the baby shark phase, so I get it.
yeah. So feel free, my friend, to share the stream with your all your followers on X, anywhere else
Oh
you
yeah,
want.
my millions of followers.
Yeah. I mean, you have Bon, you
um,
have Bob, you have Bruno, Anthony, all of the followers.
what's up, man? So what's going on? What do you want to talk about?
So first thing before we'll talk about the draft,
Yep.
there is a news in Carolina, a big news which I don't believe it impact you because I believe you're in New York, if I remember
Yep.
correctly.
Yep.
But it's impacting everyone in the Carolinas. Basically, today the Carolina Panthers released a notice. Social media, the next 2 years, training camp will not be open to the public
Uh, yeah, I saw that. I saw that.
except for FanFest, which because of construction. Now, That is ridiculous decision by David Tepper. It's a terrible decision because here's the deal, my friend. With the way the economy is, forget about politics. The way it's difficult to attend to go to NFL games, especially when you have large family. Concession and tickets and everything can be very expensive. And
Yep.
a lot of the people's the only opportunities that they get to go to watch a football team live during the season or before the season is a training camp. It's a
Yep.
fun activity for the kids. They get a autograph, signed pictures from the players, from the coach, meeting cell pair, cheerleaders, etc. Getting videos and pictures for life that they cherish. All of
Yep.
that will be not available. I mean, FanFest will be available. But the other thing is, even if you're not a young child, you go to training camp with the expectations that you will see the team, that you will, like, A, you get excited for the upcoming season. B, you get to see the team up close and you see whether you want to buy, invest in tickets or not. And C, it's also a great opportunity for fans to buy jerseys, to buy gear, etc. All of that out of the to the trash. And I mean, the Panthers could have all practice at Watford, where they've all practice when Jerry Richardson, the prior owner, was alive. That is where they practice. And I understand David Tepper has no connection to Watford, but at the same time, you're antagonizing so many fans. I mean, you want to make money, David Tepper, by not holding training camp open to the fans for the next 2 years? That is how you're turning fans away. And I'm guessing they might not stream all of the practice on Panthers.com. So we will have to count on the great reporting of Mike Kay, Chris Jenkins, Scott Fowler, Alex Zintra, Joe Pelson, David Newton, and so on, instead of seeing with our own eyes. Because myself, last year, I attended back to practice at Bank of America Stadium. I had a good time, even though it was Saturday morning. And then I went 2.5 hours, couple of weeks later, to Clemson, and I had a decent time at FanFest, even though it was a 3 hours drive. So, I mean, it's tradition, my friend. It's tradition. Back to practice, back to camp, to have fans. They are not going
Mhm.
to.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, I I don't live in North Carolina. I haven't lived in North Carolina for 13 years. I don't know that. I just don't know. I just don't know how it is to do that. I don't know how big of a tradition it is. I don't know how much money they make. I don't know anything about that. What I will say is that David Tepper, no matter what's happened, is ever since Wright has made it a point to be very, very secretive about every single thing he does. Because when the Wright situation happened, that was the worst of that's the worst I've seen the Panthers as far as the rest of the league seeing them that I've ever seen in their history of their franchise. Whereas like I've heard David Tepper is like texting down to Frank Wright to about the plays. David Tepper started drinking fans. Like David Tepper went through a whole season of being called out for every single thing that he did. And if he's just saying, hey, I'm making it a point where I'm not going to give you this, I'm not going to give you this opportunity to do anything. I'm going to be secretive about every single thing I do. The David Canales situation, we didn't hear anything about the David Canales situation before it happened. The Bryce benching, we still don't know what happened with that. We don't know how much Tepper was involved with that. We don't know anything about the Bryce benching. We don't know anything about the Deontay Johnson trade, the Mingo trade. They're very very closed mouth on a lot of things these days, and this kind of just adds to that. I think he's just trying to make that the standard in Carolina now. We're not worried about anything. We're focused on the future, about building this, about running this team as good teams do. Because I'll say this: in New York, they don't have what you guys have down there. They don't open like they sell tickets like for a lot of money. When Aaron Rodgers came to MetLife, those tickets were sold out in a day, and it was really expensive to watch Aaron Rodgers go uh, practice, I guess. So I can't really give you an honest opinion about that, except for it does sound like Tepper. It sounds very consistent with what he's trying to do with the Panthers these days.
which is not smart. I understand you don't live in North Carolina or any close to the area, so I will give you an example. 2 years ago, when Frank Reich was the head coach, and the Panthers say at training camp back to practice on Saturday practice. First practice in Wofford, which is about an hour and a half from Charlotte. Practice started at 10 a.m. They still drew about 15,000 fans, even though it's free, completely free. 15,000 fans attended, including myself and so many other fans from Charlotte. Back when Ron Rivera was the coach, I believe in 2020, 2015, if I remember correctly, or maybe 2016, around that time frame, they had opening practice, a night practice at Wofford. Thursday night, they drew 25, right around 25,000 fans showed up for a night practice. So the interest is very high in this
Mm,
thing, and they are antagonizing the fan base because Bank of America Stadium, FanFest, can hold 73,000. So how are
mm,
they going to decide which 73,000 will get to attend practice and which not? No, here's the deal. Here's the deal. They sell tickets. They sell tickets in the possible FanFest, but 100% of the tickets that they sell go to charity. So they don't make profit off of it. Unfortunately, I've seen bad apples, people sold those tickets for like $200 and so on. Crazy, outrageous amount. But what I suspect, and I saw it on X, probably in 2027, get ready in Carolina for preseason, pardon me, training camp tickets to cost $5, $10 to attend, something like that. Because, like I said, the way you build and bring more fans, which more fans equal more revenue to David and Nicole Tepper, is by allowing fans access to watch the practice, training camp. The final point, a Bryce Young, Derek Brown spoke today to the media because they are having OTA, volunteer OTA, and they both stated basically, in essence, it's a bad idea. They didn't say that.
yeah,
In essence, they stated it's a bad idea that the fans won't be around.
yeah. I mean, they have their money, so they don't care. I will tell. I mean, David Tepper is what one of the top 20 richest guys in the world. He is not. He is going to make a profit.
Yeah,
The way that you're laying it out, and I get it. I get North Carolina, and I get college football, and I get like the heart and soul of the experience and the love of the game, and that's what Richardson was, and that's just what it was when Richardson was around. And David Tepper's just different. Like he's gonna make his profit. He knows that he's going to sell tickets because people are gonna come. Like we were, I think, we're like a top seven highest selling ticket fan base, or their top 10 or something like that, because people will just come from out. Like he's gonna sell his tickets. It might not be Panther fans, but he's gonna sell his tickets. So they're still bringing in revenue based on ticket sales. We ain't got no stars, so it's not like they're selling a lot of jerseys right now, anyways, because they keep on moving them over. I think what if I and I'm just playing devil's advocate. I'm not a big Tepper fan as far as like he's a billionaire. Billionaires just care about money. They don't care about the average consumer. I'm just playing devil's advocate about this specific situation. And he says, hey, Give me 2 years. Let me make the event better. Let me make some money off of it. Let's let our team grow and let our team be better. And then maybe everyone's happy. That's just that this no one knows what the right or wrong is. I get it as a fan in North Carolina, it sucks. But as if you look at it from a businessman's perspective, I don't think he's worried about losing revenue based on ticket sales. And the best way to make more money is to make your team better. So I think that's the focus and make the facilities better and make the experience better. I don't know. That could be complete bullshit. It could. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have a good answer for you. I'm just kind of giving a antagonistic point of view to your statement.
Right. I was going to say the final point is I see you as a fan here. Hello, I haven't seen you in forever. I'm assuming you're referring to me. Hey, Etienne, and everyone
Oh yeah.
else. Please smash the like button and help the channel grow and monetize. But the final point, you know who feels stabbed in the back? The fans in South Carolina. The fans in South Carolina. They're the one feeling stabbed in the back. I mean, why are you not going to Wofford? Why are you not going to Wofford? You know you're going to be rebuilding the stadium. Why are you not going to go to Wofford? But anyway, Tepper is. I mean, we Tepper cannot be fired. But I will
Yeah,
say
'cause,
this.
yeah, it
I,
sucks. Billionaires
yeah,
suck. I mean, like, it's a business, not a charity, so I get it.
yeah. I'm so sorry to hear about that. So sorry. Hopefully,
Yeah.
David Tepper did not do that. But anyway, I was going to say as a final point. You talked about popularity. I know we have in North Carolina, we have the Hornets. They're terrible. We have the basketball teams, UNC, Duke, State, etc.
Oh
Great.
yeah.
We have the NHL, the Hurricanes. Charlotte FC, they're popular and they're playing great in Charlotte. But honestly, I feel like the most popular team in North and South Carolina is the Carolina Panthers. Without a doubt. Even though
Professional team, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
we are terrible, and hopefully with this coming draft we won't be, we are the most popular. So hopefully David Teffer someone get to him. I mean, maybe Darren Gant because I believe he's close to the organization, but who knows? Anyway, enough with the Teffers. Let's talk about the draft. I mean,
Yep.
we are right now trying to see what time it is. 8:22. So basically, right now, 24 hours from now, we know unless there is something that you know or I know or anyone else that basically Cam Ward is going to be a Titans.
Cam Ward is gonna be Titan. Sorry, yeah, I was only out looking at the comments. Cam Ward will 100,000 billion% be a Titan. That is the worst kept secret ever. But that's number one pick. If you it you always tell the quarterback of the team that you're going to draft number one that he's going to be the pick. Panthers did not do that because they were interested in multiple quarterbacks. But Trevor Lawrence, everybody knew Trevor Lawrence was going to be a Jaguar. Peyton Manning, everybody knew Peyton Manning was going to be a Colt. Andrew Luck, everybody knew Andrew Luck was going to be Colt. Like these guys that are by far and away the best quarterback in the draft are always going to go number one, and that team does not want to look ridiculous, and they're going to not move out of that pick, especially if their other option is Will Levis. So Cam Ward will be a Tennessee Titan tomorrow at 8 o'clock or at 8:20 or whatever time it is right now.
Eight, yeah, 8:22. They have 20 minutes to make the pick, but
Yeah.
I don't think if they're going to take 20. But let's play devil advocate for a second. Let's play. I mean, sure, you have Will Levis. He's a bust, basically, for all intents and purposes. But wouldn't you
Oh,
be
I
silly?
don't, but that fan base does. I hate classifying these guys as a bust. I mean, we said you see Geno Smith, you see Sam Darnold, you see these guys do it all the time. Is like they and that's what bad organizations do. And for all intents and purposes, Titans are a bad organization. They say we know after 2 years this guy is a bust. That's why I hated the Bryce benching because we're saying that after 1 year and 2 games, this guy's going to be benched. That's what the Jets kept doing. Every time the Jets get a quarterback and they leave, they end up doing well somewhere else. So I think it's not a good idea. I would say you bring in a vet maybe and like to help develop him, but bad organizations do this, and Titans are a bad organization. Um, and they're going to continue to go through this quarterback carousel probably unless Cam Ward is good right away.
Right. I mean, I think the ceiling for Cam Ward is very high. At the same time, I if I was the Titans, I would honestly draft Abdul Carter because without a doubt he's the best player in the draft and trade for Colt Cousin. So you solve two problems and you
Yeah,
have Abdul Kader rushing from one side. You have Jeffrey Seaman, who is very underrated, a pass rusher from the other side, and you have phenomenal defense. You have good running
yeah.
back with Tony Pollard. You have decent wide receiver with Taj Bird, Boyd, and company. So basically, that's what I would be doing. But the Titans selecting Cam Ward, yeah, it's a good decision, but I don't think it's the best decision.
Yeah, I mean every coach usually within the first 2 years, especially if they're offensive minded, get their quarterback, their quarterback. They choose the quarterback before they get fired. They wouldn't actually like Callahan doesn't know that he's going to have a third year. He sucked year one, right? The Titans are the worst team in the league, right? Sucked year one. So he's going to say, "I'm picking my quarterback, and I'm going to die with the guy that I'm choosing." Every team in the NFL does it, unless you're the
Cowboys.
Dolphins, who and they inherited Mike McDaniel's inherited Tua, or you're the Cowboys and you just stuck with Dak through like
Yeah.
four coaches now. Everybody else picks their own quarterback, and especially if they're offensive minded. And that's what it looked like the Panthers were going to do. And then thank Bryce just came out of nowhere in the last 5 6 games, and he was like, "No, you're not. You're not picking your own quarterback. I'm the guy," kind of thing. So add the Panthers to that list.
Right, which looking at the quarterback class, the Panthers are extremely lucky that Bryce don't need to run because this is not a good quarterback draft class on
Right.
paper. So,
Yeah, that's on paper.
so the Titans selecting Ken Ward. Then we go to the Browns. The Browns can go Travis Hunter, Abdul
Mm.
Caldwell. Uh, I've heard before, like a couple of weeks, like 2 weeks ago, Jalen Walker potentially.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
smoke. It's
so
Hunter. If Hunter doesn't go two, like something's wrong. I had Mason Graham in the same class as Hunter. That's just me because I'm just an idiot. But as far as what everybody's saying, Hunter, I mean, it's a generational talent. You cannot pass on him, and the Browns know it. And Browns are also a bad organization, and they don't want to look stupid, so they're going to draft a generational talent. I highly doubt, unless they swap with Giants, which is a possibility, because Abdul Carter is also considered a generational talent. I don't think he is, but he's considered that way. So I think the Browns. I think the first two are kind of locked in as Hunter and Ward.
right, and then the Giant, the third pick. I think they might shock everyone and go with Shadow.
I think that they could go Shador. I don't know if it's going to be at three though. I think that might be the first trade is at three. I think that's the one where people are very because people really think that there's two guys that are just better than everybody. That's Carter and Hunter. I don't think Carter is that much better than everybody else, but that's what people consider are the two guys. The Giants have Brian Burns and Thibodeau and Dexter Lawrence, and they got so many guys in that defensive line. I think that's where the first trade happens, and of many trades that happen tomorrow. I just don't know who it would be. People have even talked about the Panthers doing it, which is, I guess,
What
cool.
about
But
sorry to cut you off? What about going O lineman? Because the Giants basically drafted Evan Neal is a bust.
it's they might go O line, but it won't be a three. I think three. They're going to. I think three is getting interest from so many different teams that the Giants most likely are trading back. I think that there's so many. I mean, it could be so many teams. It could be. The Bears could come up to three and get Genty because they really want him and they consider him a generation talent. The 49ers could come up to get Abdul Carter. I mean, there's so many teams that love Abdul Carter, and the Giants. What are they going to like? Where are they going to put him? Like they got so many guys on each line. They'd have to trade Thibodeau probably because you can't trade that Brian Burns contract. It'd be impossible. Um, so I just or they're trading up to two to get Hunter, which I don't think the Browns are going to be interested in.
Didn't they decline a Thibodeau a 50-year option?
Yeah, it didn't mean anything. I mean, fifth year options are. Well, I don't know if they declined it, but they haven't given it to him yet. Because you don't have to give the fifth year option yet. I think the deadline is. I can't remember when the deadline is, but it hasn't happened yet. Because we haven't
May,
given. It might be May 1st, yeah, because we still have to make a decision on Icky's fifth year.
yeah, because I know it might not make sense, but if I'm the Giant, even though you have Tracy and he played pretty well, I would go with Gentry. I would seriously go with Gentry at number 3.
Yeah, but they're just not going to. Like, it's just, I mean, Genty too. I just that's just not what's going to happen. I think that he could go three, but it won't be to the Giants.
So you think potentially a trade or Cardell?
Sorry,
Let's see.
too
Let's
much
see.
Justin.
Oh, sure. All line. I mean, the all line. It's terrible. It really is.
Yeah, listen. I mean, I, I would tend to. Let's just say this happens. Just there's so many ways. We're in April right now. The season's not going to start till August. There's so many ways they can upgrade this O line and the draft. I mean, you think that Ursa's going to be in the second round? They got picked what 36. So Ursa's going to be in the second round. Connerly's probably going to be in the second round. Trapilla's going to be in the second round. Inval's going to be in the second round. I mean, there's guys in the second round that they could get to help with the open offensive line, and they could always trade. Just say this is how it happens. I don't know. I don't know. I have no clue. But say the Panthers want to go up to three, and they say, "Here's Icky and pick and our 57 pick, or pick Icky and 8. Just say Icky and 8 to get to three. We get offensive line, and you get 8, and you can draft a Shador at 8. Like like your draft opens up, and you solve a need with that. And we sign Brady. Like we have Brady Christensen, so we can fill that void. Like it helps both teams. So I wouldn't get into need that much right now because we're so far away from August.
And do you think that could happen? Potentially the Panthers
No,
trading for
yeah, I don't think the Panthers are trading up.
right, because Morgan basically stated all along, then Morgan all along, we are not trading up. Which, speaking of Morgan, kind of interesting that he spoke last week. Maybe it's not a big deal, but I know in the past they usually speak a day or two, 3 days before the draft, not a week out, even 9 days out, which I found it kind of interesting because I remember when they drafted Young, Bryce, 2 days before, 3 days before, and also last year they spoke like 3 days prior to the draft. So I'm not sure if there was a reason behind it or they just picked up that day, 9 days
Yeah,
before.
well, having the
So
number one pick, you have the media pressure of the number one, and then last year there was no pressure because you were at 33. So
yeah,
now that there's pressure and you're going to get asked a ton of questions, I don't think they trust Morgan. Dan Morgan has the worst poker face that exists, so I don't think they trusted him to go in front of the media 3 days before the draft.
because I noticed the Jets had their press conference yesterday,
Yeah,
which
most people did, and
yeah,
you got so much from it. You like the Bears had theirs yesterday too, and everybody in the world knows they want Jinty now. Everyone knows, and they know that they want to trade up because they basically said like there's gonna be a lot of trades. There's gonna be a lot of action that's happening. So I mean, I expect that the Bears trying to trade up. Um, I don't know if I don't know. I have no idea. But I think the first trade happens at three. I think there's going to be someone that trades into three. I highly doubt it's the Panthers. I'd look out for someone like the Bears, the 49ers.
Dallas.
Um, something like that.
Dallas. Dallas might. They also want Gentry.
Yeah, but they probably trade to like 5 or 6. I'm talking about people that want Abdul Carter. Because I
Oh,
mean, Abdul Carter is going to go 3. I I can't. I'd be shocked if it was Jinty, but I think more likely than not, people would try to get the 4 for Jinty with the Patriots because the Patriots want an offensive tackle, and there's Banks and Campbell are both and Bauer are both all kind of like in the same area. So it's like if I have to trade back to 7 or something like that. Then,
so let's say for someone so let's say the 49ers trade hypothetically for this conversation, they trade up, they take Carter. The Giants move, I believe the 49ers have the 11th pick, if I remember
yep,
correctly.
11. Yeah, in my mock, I have that happening. In my first round mock, I have that happening. The
So
49ers
they
trading up.
so then it's fourth picked. Carter is already gone. The Pats might have been interested in him out until he's gone.
They're getting
Would they
Campbell. I
go
mean,
take Mason
they're going
Graham?
offensive tackle. No, they're going Campbell. It's,
So
it's
they
also
go.
a worst. It's a worst kept secret. I highly doubt they move from that pick. They love Campbell. I think they're going Campbell.
So then the fun start with the Jags. The reason I say the fun,
Exactly.
we thought
That's
Mason
where the
Graham,
fun starts.
but they are thinking of taking Tatum McNinnon.
McMillan.
Yep.
I don't think that happens, but you got an offensive coach coming in, and usually offensive coaches go offense with a first pick. And look what I mean, people talk about. Look what Trevor did with T Higgins. Give Trevor a big target, a big catch radius, and that dude is freaking elite. So Tet makes a lot more sense than Genty does. I know people have been talking about Genty. Genty doesn't really make a ton of sense to me with the way that Bigsby and ETN has been playing. Not that they're better, but like your position is kind of is it's not like a huge need. Whereas like outside of Brian Robinson, you lost Kirk, you lost what's his name, the Ingram.
Yeah.
So now you're just sitting there with Gabe Davis, and Tet makes a ton of sense at 5. But they could trade the pick. I mean that 5 is where it gets fun. 5 is where because I think people want Mason Graham. I think Mason Graham could be the trade up, and I think people want Genty, and I think Genty could be the trade up at 5. And I think that they could stay and take Ted. So that's super super fun, and I think that's where the draft gets exciting is at 5.
Right. So we get to number 6. Number 6, the
So who are
Raiders.
you saying? Who do you think's going to 5? Graham?
Now, from what I'm hearing, I think they're going with Tatum. If it was like 2, 3 weeks
Ted?
ago, yeah, I would say Graham. But I mean, the Jags might throw a smoke scream. They might go with Jalen Walker potentially.
Yeah, no. I think if they go defense, they're going to go Mason Graham. But the only reason I don't think they're going that they may go not go Mason Graham is because Leon is an offensive dude, and he's going to want offensive weapons because he's an offensive dude.
What
So I
about
think Genty. Go ahead. Go ahead. What do you say?
Tyler Warren?
No. Tyler Warren's not going to go in the top 10.
Because they
That's a weird thing that Panther fans have made up. I have not seen anybody projecting Tyler Warren in the top 10.
because the Jags need a replacement for Ingram. Tyler
Yeah, it's a,
Warren.
it's a tight end. The only tight end you've ever seen go in the top 5 is Kyle Pitts, and look how that worked out.
What about
Like Brock Bowers was like one of the most elite prospects we've ever seen, and he went like 13.
yeah? What
I
about
highly doubt we see tight end go in the top 10.
what about Colston? I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly from Michigan.
Loveland, Loveland's my favorite tight end, but he's not going top 10. I can see them going top 15. It's kind of like Malachi Starks. Like yeah, Malachi Starks is fantastic, but it's a safety. It's the positional value.
Right. So you think they're going with Tata? I also think that, but I won't be surprised if they have to choose between Mason Graham and Gentry. I think they would go with Gentry. I really do.
I think they're all equal. I think it's one of those three or they trade it. Um, it makes so much sense to go offense, and intent makes a ton of sense for them. And I think that could be the surprise pick because Graham's been locked in for them for a long time. I think it's still probably Graham, but I'm not confident at all that's the pick.
Right. So let's say they go with Tatus. Then the Raiders, Gentry, it's a slim dunk. They'll take in Gentry, but they might.
Unless the Bears trade up into the six.
No, I was going
And
to
they like
say,
Walker. They love Walker.
but, but, part owner, Tom Brady, Michigan, the general manager, went to Michigan. Guess who is
Oh,
the
you're talking
bell?
about if Graham gets there? Oh,
Yeah.
1,000. Graham, Graham ain't slipping to like whatever happens because everybody thinks about the needs of the teams in front of the Panthers. Whatever happens, Graham ain't slipping to eight. He ain't falling to eight. This dude's insane. Somebody's going to trade into that pick if it's not drafted before then. It's kind of feeling the same way with Jalen Walker as well. Um, I think that those picks are a lot more likely to be traded to get guys like Jalen Walker and Graham and Genty and stuff like that than it is for people to let those guys fall all the way to eight.
Right.
Except
So,
for Genty. I can see Genty falling to eight.
which then the Panthers will have a decision to make.
Yeah, I think the only here's the thing. So there's the only scenario I think that the Panthers are in a pickle is if somehow Tech goes five to the Jags, Walker goes six to the Raiders, and um, and Graham's off the board somehow. So say it goes Graham, Tech, Walker, and then Mikael Williams goes to the Jets. If those four guys are off, because I think those are the four guys we would like the Panthers just would love. One of those four guys, then we're completely screwed. Especially if we
Well,
can't trade back.
not really, but I I'm
I'm
thinking
talking about from their point of view. From their point of view.
right. No, no, no. But I'm thinking if it's between Walker and Graham for the Raiders, they're going to go with Graham because of the Michigan connection.
Maybe, yeah. Well,
So so
those
let's
are both great picks there. I'm just pointing out where Graham's not falling. In my opinion, Graham ain't falling. Walker may. Walker, Tet, and Mikael Williams are the ones that I think they realistically will get.
so let's say Graham hypothetically six,
Okay.
7. You have Gentry still on the board. You have the Jets. They have Bryce Hall running back. I don't remember who is their second
Yeah, they
string
got Brees Hall, Braylon Allen, and Isaiah, whatever his name is.
likely. No, what?
No, Isaiah. I'll think of it in a second.
Sure.
They got three strong backs, and you already have what's his name,
That
Lions dude, already say that they're going to go a three-headed monster with those three guys. They're not going running back,
Aaron,
but somebody could trade to get to that point.
right, Aaron Glenn. So
Aaron Glenn, that's right.
yeah, so you don't think so? Then they will probably go with either Mikael Williams or Jalen Walker or the
I think they.
bell.
I think they. I don't think they go Walker. I think they go Mikael Williams. Maybe Walker. Yeah, maybe Walker. You're right. I think that they really need a tackle though, and I think they really like Mimbo. So I think that or Banks. I think those are the two most likely to go seven if the Jets keep it. I really think, dude. Really think that a lot of trades are going to happen before the Panthers pick at eight. Um, and I think that's really and I don't think people are thinking about that. It. I'm just going to put this out there right now because I think we're kind of dancing around it. I think before the Panthers, these are the guys that are going to be gone for sure. Ward, Hunter, Carter. I think Walker is going to go before us. Um, and those are and Graham. I think those five are gone by the time the Panthers get to pick. So you're talking about two other guys, I think, and both those guys I think are offensive tackles. So I think it's going to be seven guys, and we're going to be left with either the decision between either Mikael Williams or Tech at 8 or trade back.
Right. But here
It's
is
my
the
it's what I think.
right, which we will see next week or whenever we have another show to talk about it. But then, so, so let's say the Jets go with Banks. Now you have Jaden Walker, who the Panthers are in love with. They basically want to marry Jaden Walker.
Yeah, he's
For
there.
sure.
They're taking.
But Mikael Williams, but Gentry. Now, hear
Mikael.
me out. We have Rico Dowdle. He's a good running back, but he's on a 1 year deal. We have Chuba. We have Brooks, Jonathan Brooks, second ACL, the same knee, back to back. He's basically going to miss the entire season. Maybe he will be back for the playoff. So it's very tempting to go with Gentry. It's very, very tempting to go with Gentry or even Amari Hampton if you want to make the fan base in Charlotte and North Carolina happy because he's a local kid from North Carolina and he's also very good running back.
Yeah,
In my opinion, he's as good as Gentry. But so
sure.
they might go.
Yeah,
Honestly, if I'm Morgan, if I have to the choice between Walker and Gentry or Hampton, I go with running back. The reason why defensive pass rusher is such a deep class. Such a deep
no,
class.
I don't. I like your logic. Your logic's fine. I mean, Panthers Post guy had said that Jinty would be great for Bryce Young. He like said that on the pod. He said he needs somebody like Jinty, and it just ain't happening. Also because if Jinty is there, people are going to want to trade because people are going to try to pass those Bears, and I think the Bears know that. So the Bears, who we've had relationships with trading, are probably going to call up and say, "Hey, let's move up. You can have your second back. We'll switch you for your 57." So if you say, "Hey," so I could see something like, "Hey, you can have. We're going to give you 10 and 39 for 8 and 57." And I think we do that in a heartbeat because I think that the Saints they would take Genty and the Saints would take either Tet or McHale or whatever. And I think we would get whoever's left over. In my opinion, there's four guys we're going to take at 8 or at all, unless we trade really far back, and it's going to be Mikhail, Walker, Graham, or Chen. There's just
Right.
too much smoke with all four of those guys.
Which
This
McCann,
Nolan, this whole Nolan stuff, I don't understand where this all came from. I don't see Nolan coming into the top 10, and I don't see him going to the Panthers that early.
McCann, if I remember correctly, is more of a better run stopper, and Jaden Walker is more of Micah Paulson type of linebacker pass rusher.
Yeah, so here I have a model. I have a mathematical model. It shows that Walker is still the favorite, but Walker was the favorite by like he was 65% to McHale at 12%, and now Walker is 41% and McHale at 31%. I just think that Walker's going before 8, and I think that McHale is going to be the pick. And I think if we trade back, then Tet will be the pick. That's my personal feeling. Um, but if Walker or Graham are there, they're the two picks if they're there.
Because here's the deal. Sure, of course, our run defense was terrible last year. Garbage, absolutely garbage. But at the same time, we struggled rushing the quarterback. And here's, I'm hoping that what they think of is hypothetically, let's say Overo is fired at the end of the season because if the defense doesn't improve, he's gone. So if you draft a player who only familiar with Overa's system, you basically screw up. Sure, he can learn a new system, but it's going to take time and all of that. So that is the question. Do you draft a player who's only familiar playing 3-4, or do you draft a player who's familiar playing 4-3-3-4, which Jalen Walker might be a better fit for a 4-3, than Michael Williams. Because if you switch
Uh,
back,
yeah, you're spot on, but Morgan ain't gonna pick for Evero. I think you're spot on, and I think the Panthers know that. They're gonna pick the best player. They're gonna think who they think is the best player. They're not gonna pick for Evero. Evero's contract is over at the end of this year. Evero, because we stopped him from getting other interviews, right?
yeah,
Evero's contract is over at the end of this year. We can't control Evero at the end of this year. So no matter what, we ain't drafting for Evero specifically. Drafting the best player on the board that Evero is going to be tasked with putting them in his system. Um, but also, like I think that this is a narrative that I haven't really wanted to talk about because I don't want the backlash of it. But we all talk about when Bryce, like his last 7 games of the season, right? He was
yeah,
amazing, and
yeah,
that's like the was like in our head as this fantastic player, right? And that
yeah,
the offense is going to be good because no matter what, like because our defense is just so bad. Well, if you look at the numbers, let's just take the Atlanta game out of it because you we got to take out that game out of it because so many of our guys were on IR because we knew the season was over, so we just like put them on IR and they didn't play. Like, I don't even think J.C. Horn played that game. I think a lot of guys didn't play that game. When Wanham came back, we had the ninth highest sack from when Wanham came back to the second to last game of the year. We had the ninth highest sack rate in the league. So we did get to the quarterback as far as when Wanham was there. We just didn't have him. We were on defense a lot because Andy Dalton sucked. Um, uh, Canales was calling like bad games. Our offensive line was in and out. Brooks got hurt. Coker got hurt. Thielen got hurt. So our offense was terrible, which put a lot of pressure on the defense. They had a lot of more time on the field. Our depth sucked because we didn't have Wanham to rush the passer. So all this stuff was put on. We didn't have Barno. Barno was hurt. So we were reliant on basically. We lost Derek Brown. Our depth was already terrible. But then when we started adding guys back in, when Barno came back in, when Wanham came back in, and we started getting when Jewel was there, we started getting some more depth on that front seven. Wanham came in and had like 5.5 sacks.
yeah,
Clowney in that second half of this year had 4.5. Ashawn Robinson had sacks towards the end of the year. Barno had sacks. CJ Johnson had a sack, I think.
yeah.
Jewel was all over the field. We generated pressure when we had guys on the field. So I think we just got to get out of this narrative. We don't have to do this, but if we're going to have the same thought process with Bryce for the second half of the season, we got to have the same process with guys like when Wanham came back into the environment. And then you add on top of that, we're getting Brown back. We got Bobby Brown, we got Wharton, we got Patrick Jones alongside of the guys because we didn't lose anybody. Like we still have Ashawn Robinson. They just gave LeBron Ray a future contract. They still got Tuttle, whatever you think about him. He's still there. He's still depth on the line. So I don't think we're as
Yep.
married to a pass rusher. I think that it's just that these dudes from Georgia are just that good that we're not going to pass them up because they're. I am not a Mikael Williams fan per se, but man, that dude is a it, talent wise. I mean, he's right up there with everybody else, and he's only 20 years old. I uh, I would
So you
hope that we say let's take the talent and let these guys develop them.
so you think he's better than Jalen Walker?
No, I think Jalen Walker's better. I think Jalen
Because
Walker's really, really good. I think, and he's really versatile.
sack wise, I don't have it in front of me, but please correct me if I'm wrong. But Jalen Walker last year and overall throughout his career at Georgia had more sacks than Michael Williams.
Yeah, I think Jalen Walker's better. I think he's a better
Like
pass rusher.
like the way I think of Michael Williams remind me more of Milton Williams. Defensive tackle, yeah, he will get to the quarterback, but he's more of a rusher, someone who's going to, pardon me, someone like Derek Brown, Sean Robinson. He's not going to get a lot of sacks, but he's going to basically create double team opportunities for other players, while Jalen Walker remind me of Frankie Louvu, which didn't really work out in the Rivera system, and Micah Paulson. But
Yeah, Micah Parsons, I think, is the best comp for Jalen Walker.
the big question is, since you basically made a point, and rightly so, that they address the defense and they have players coming back, do they really need to go with defense with the eight pick?
Oh, I think that they don't want to go defense. I think that the defensive class is just so good you can't go offense, except if it's Ted. Ted is the only person that has the talent that matches up with the talent of guys like Mikael Williams, Shamar Stewart, Jalen Walker. A lot of these pass rushers or defensive players are so freaking talented. You don't the you're either, in my opinion, if you're going offense, you either got to go running back because this is insanely talented running back class, which you got two. So you're basically telling us you're not going to go running back, and you only brought in really like scat backs and Henderson. So I think you're saying if Henderson drops to 57, maybe we'll take him. But I think you're just saying I'm good on running back for now because I think that they they have other crucial needs. I just don't. That's why Ted's the only person on the board because of his elite upside, and or you can get somebody like Emeka Egbuka who has just he's just so refined. He's so refined. He can help Bryce out. He can be. Those are the only guys that I think that they consider this Golden. I don't think Golden is a I think there's Goldens on the market that you can get in trade or free agency. People like his speed and his route running, which I get. But I don't think it's as refined as somebody like Guka. I think you either, if you're going receiver, you either go the elite upside of Tet or the polished guy in Guka. And I think that they rather not go either one of them, and they rather get those guys in trade or free agency.
And you don't think Tyler Warren is under
Yeah,
any, because here
yeah,
in
yeah.
Carolina, everyone in Carolina, not everyone, but a lot of people basically on social media and the radio station and so on is preaching draft Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren.
No,
So that could be the shocking pick if they go Warren.
no, they're not going Warren.
Well,
I put my business on it. They're not going Warren. I mean, first of all, they don't bring him in for a visit. They don't bring a ton of tight ends in at all. They re-signed Trimble. They draft a guy in the early fourth last year. Canales, and they draft tight ends a lot. They don't draft them high. Like Seattle, you think about all those guys, they drafted a ton of them. Like Payne Durham they drafted him, and they make guys work. Will Disley, they brought in Jimmy Graham via trade. I'm trying to think of guys that were in there. Logan Luke Wilson, like they make guys work in this system, but they don't draft elite tight ends because when you draft them, you make them part of your offense. Think of all the guys that go in the first round. Brock Bowers, sure. When there's but there's no other catchers on that team. Jacoby Myers is coming off injury. He was good, but then you're looking like guys like can you name another receiver on in the Raiders? And you're doing it with Antonio Pierce, who isn't like the end all be all of offense. But then other guys, Kyle Pitts, OJ Howard, Eric Ebron, Noah Fant. Like these are the first round guys you're talking about. Granted, these guys are better, but you got to build your offense around Tyler Warren, and Canales just hasn't done. Like he was a wide receivers coach. Isaac's a wide receivers coach. Like there's no history of them ever drafting tight end. They didn't bring him in for the top 30 visit, and Canales is a wide receiver guy. Like he's focused around the wide receivers and the backs. Usually, tight end is he uses them, but he doesn't need an elite one. It just kind of fits within the offense that he runs. K. Dotton really appreciated it, but K. Dotton wasn't an elite talent. Kyle Pitts is still trying to find his way. Dalton Kincaid still trying to find his way. Like, it's just I highly doubt Tyler Warren's going to be the pick.
I would draft him honestly, either M or M10 or Gentry, because he's a very special type of a tight end. It's not your traditional tight end. He's a pass catching, but he's also a bulldozer. Remind me of the Saints quarterback who also played tight end, Tyson Tyson Hill. It's
Yeah, who
basically
was a sixth round pick, I think. Like that's
yeah,
what I'm saying. Like you can get these kind of guys.
the question. Okay, so let's say they go Jalen Walker then, because they're not going to go Gentry or Mari Empton. So Jalen Walker. So then the Saints, ninth pick. Technically, with Derek Carr out for the season, supposedly. I don't know if there's been any.
Weird. See, I don't believe that either. That came out 3 weeks before the NFL draft. I don't buy it. I think that's a smokescreen that people like. Why are we just hearing about that? Like, let's get real, guys.
So who you think released it? The Panthers?
No, I think they released it because they wanted to show, hey, we're definitely going quarterback at 9, like that kind of thing. So it makes you want to like people to trade into that pick, trade up, that kind of. I think people just got to mess with other people. I don't think they like Carr. I think that they want you to think that they're definitely going quarterback, and I'm not sure that that's going to happen unless. So here's my scenario that I built in my mock. I have the Panthers or no, the Niners trading up to 3 with the Giants. Giants trading back to 11. I have the Giants trading up with the Panthers because we have a history of trading with the Giants. They're friends. Um, and the Giants selecting Shador at 8. So
Huh.
now the Saints are forced because they want a quarterback and they only like Dart and maybe Milrow a little bit. So you put them in a bind by saying, all right, well, Dart's probably not going to be there. So they draft Dart at 9. Then Genty goes 10. And then 11, I have Panthers selecting 10 at 11 in
Right,
my mock that I have, which I think is a very, like, that could definitely happen.
right. Which if that happen, I think we'll be up until 10:30, something like that, because each pick take 30 minutes. So you're saying the Panthers taking
30
10,
minutes. This is 30
yeah.
minutes.
So you're saying the Panthers taking Tate 11 over Mike Green, over Michael Williams.
I think they'd be willing to trade that back again. But what they know they can't do is that because Cowboys are probably taking receiver. Like they're almost definitely taking receiver.
You don't
So if you draft Ted, then you can make a you like Ted. They like Ted. I know they like Ted. But they can also make the Cowboys if they could force the Cowboys' hands, but being like, oh, you just drafted Ted. We wanted Ted. We want him bad. You can have 12 and plus. So you play that game of chicken, and if Cowboys trade up with you and they take Ted, then you have 12 plus, and then you can get Michael Williams or whoever you want, like whoever else is on your board.
right, because
I think I think you just do that to play the game.
my thinking is, if the Panthers trade with the Giants in your mock draft, the Giants take Shador at 8. I think the Saints go with quarterback.
Yeah,
Either,
Dart.
yeah. So in that case, Michael Williams still on the board, and then you have to choose. Do you go with Michael Williams? Do you go with someone Mike Green, who I know on the field is probably one of the best players in the draft? Maybe as good
Mm.
as Carter. Off the field, red flag, and you
Yeah, you just
probably
don't want that headache. You don't want that headache. They're not going to draft Green. They
right.
just don't want to
Which
draft that headache. Yeah,
my
just like
prediction,
they're not
yeah,
taking Isaiah Bond. They're not going to take anybody with. They just don't want the headache of it. In Bible Belt, Carolina.
right. My prediction: the Eagles will trade up and draft Mike Green.
I think that is a possibility. Eagles are very aggressive, so I can definitely see that. I Here's what is so great about 11. If what I just said happens, and you say that War goes 1, and we trade back to 11,
Yeah.
and you say that Shador goes 8, and 9 is Dart, and then Jinty goes 10, and we're 11. All of us basically one left. No, part one trade, and I kept preaching how brilliant this staff is. The due diligence that they've done on players that are projected anywhere from 5 to 55 is insane because we give ourselves so much leeway to trade in any direction we want to. I can see us trading back twice. Like if and then we get picks for the Giants trade, and then we get picks again for the Pittsburgh trade, and then you're looking at another first next year. We still get at 21. We can still get a guy that we really like, whether it's and Moriari, whatever his name is. Um, the is Donovan is whatever. Uh, there's
Right.
so many guys in that
Maybe,
area that we like.
maybe even James Pierce. I don't know what his off the field issue, if he has any, but
I don't know.
he's,
I don't know of any. I don't know anything about his visits either or anything like that. But
he's
um,
been followed.
I can
So,
see. I can definitely see James Pierce after the way that Canales talked about him like a month and a half ago. I can definitely see that.
so basically, you would trade with the Giants and then the Steelers. And
I would want to. Yeah.
we talked about it 2 weeks ago that potentially the Steelers will jump up to Shador, but I think Shador is slipping.
Yeah, well, I think that's what is so crazy about the draft, and that's why it's the, playing the, and that's why I think what they did was so brilliant because you people don't know anything about you. You've done your work on the 1 through 10 guys, the 10 through 20 guys, the 20 through 30 guys, the 30 40 guys. So they give themselves so many different options. What I would love for them to do is get another safety before the draft and get another wide receiver before the draft and but they're so smart that let's say this they probably worked out so many different scenarios. Now, let's just say that the Steelers, well, Steelers, if you want to come get him, we're demanding Pickens or just something like along those lines. Or Colts, you want to come up because you're scared that Warren's gone, we demand Pittman. Or we demand, you've played out all these scenarios in your head, which is why Tillis is so. Tillis does this kind of stuff, and I know Tillis does it because I do it. And Tillis, that kind of mind does these things. So I expect us to be willing to take a player at 8 if it's one of those 4 guys, and I also expect us to be. I expect the Panthers to do some things that are they're very impressive this draft, and which is far from what I expected to say on the Wednesday before the draft.
Do you think any possibility of Quentin Nelson asking the Panthers ask for him?
No, we don't need no. We have 11 offensive
I
linemen.
mean,
I don't think.
it's an outstanding O lineman, one of the best.
Oh, I
Maybe.
agree, but he's not on our timetable. I think we're working on a. I don't think we're gonna win now. That's why I never thought that T.J. Watt was gonna be a thing. That's why I never thought that the Bengals dude was ever gonna be a thing. I don't think
Maybe.
anybody is 30 plus outside of wide receiver is going to be a Panther
Honestly, if
as
I'm the
far as the
Panthers,
trade.
yeah. Oh, if I'm the Panthers from the Colts, I'm asking for Josh Down. Not only is a local kid, but I think his upside is much higher than Michael Pittman. Who, if I'm not mistaken, Michael Pittman throughout his career had trouble staying healthy
Yeah, no,
overall.
I've already done this in a previous video, and I said that Alec Pierce is the perfect fit for Panthers. So I think Alec Pierce is the guy that we would go after in a trade with the Colts if we did that. Also, Sam wants to hear you talk about your training camp that you talked about for 15 minutes at the beginning of the episode. So give him a training camp thought.
Which one?
Sam Jokerson in your chat to
I
give
don't
you
see
training camp thought.
I don't see anyone in the chat unless you're watching a
No,
different.
he said, guys, give us your training camp thoughts. I think that Tepper is just trying to keep everything secretive, as far, I mean, as just a overall comment. You don't see it,
Okay, now I see it.
okay,
Now,
okay, yeah.
so
You have much more you're much more opinionated about this.
right. So basically, regarding the training camp thought, it's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous, because you're antagonizing the fan base. You basically, as I stated before, forget about politics, put politics aside, but it's very difficult for a family. Let's say you have 4 kids or 2 kids. It's going to be difficult for fans with children to attend regular season games because there is no difference in the price as far as the price of a young child, let's say 10-year-old or an adult. It's the same cost of ticket, $50, $60, $70. So basically, just a family of 4 for one game with the concession and everything, you could be potentially looking at $300 easily to spend. So $300 you might spend it. And then they see Alex basically was so disgusted by David Tepper that he decided to walk away. But anyway, we'll continue until he come back. Hopefully David Tepper did not scare him away. But my point is, guys, my point is basically when you all the fans, pardon me, when you all training camp in Charlotte, in Carolina, see you all back. I see David Tepper did not scare you so much.
I I had to blow my nose. It's
Oh,
super
okay.
dusty down here right now, so I had to blow my
Okay. So,
nose.
so I was saying basically training camp, when you hold it in Charlotte or in Watford or in Greenville or in Clemson, in Columbia, basically you allow more fans to discover your team. They want to invest in buying jerseys and tickets and gears and so on. When you basically stayed and listen, the only open practice for the next 2 years, just fan face, you're blocking so many potential new fans from showing up. You're also preventing current fans from showing up because you go to training camp. Even if you're not a young child, I'm definitely not a young kid. But when I went to training camp, I took pictures, I took videos that I look back, some of it on YouTube, some of it not. You have memory that you went to training camp, you took a picture of the player, and here they are, a couple of years later, they're in the Super Bowl, and so on. You make memory, activity, and it make you also, as a fan, you watch the team up front with your own eyes. And then you make a decision, do I want to invest and go to games or not? Because with all of the great jobs that all of the reporters do, Mike Kay, good evening, Brady. Hope you're doing well. Please smash the like button, everyone. So Joe Pelson, David Newton, Mike Kay, Alex Vetra, all of those guys, David Newton, Chris Jenkins, and I'm probably Sheila Quit and Carolina Blitz and all of them. I'd probably,
Hashtag.
yeah, Vashti, I'd probably leaving some out. But my point is, they do a great job. But we, with our own eyes, we can see for ourselves and judge for ourselves. So why not have a rotating training camp, which I heard, well, is he worked for ESPN, so I'm going to mention him. He worked for ESPN, as far as I know. But I'm trying to be respectful to all of them. But my whole point is, guys, why not? I mean, I feel bad for the fans in South Carolina. I mean, technically it's Carolina Panthers, but it should be called the Charlotte Panthers. Because when you don't have training camp in Watford when you could, it basically, you're making it the Charlotte Panthers, which I'm fine with it. I live in Charlotte at the moment, so I'm fine with it. But it's not, you want to grow your fan base, you need to have training camp in different places. Why not have it in Colombia? Why not have it in Colombia? I understand the Panthers never played a game in Colombia, but Colombia is big enough city. It's also only hour and a half drive away from Charlotte, so plenty of fans in Charlotte can show up. Or why not have a training camp in Camp Lejeune area, in Fayetteville, or in Raleigh, or in Greensboro? So I think Joe Pelson wrote on it. The reason, or maybe Sheena Quick, one of them wrote the reason why they're having the training camp in Charlotte is because familiarity and equipment and so on. But the last I saw, you can carry the equipment in a big trucks to Greenville, to Wofford. Plus, I mean, in a way, not having fans in attendance except for FanFest will make the team used to playing on the road. So hopefully, if Canales is listening to it, if someone know Dave Canales, please let him know when we cannot show up to practice, make sure to have loud away fan noise like boo and all of that, so the Panthers mentality will get used to playing on the road. Enemy territory like boo and the Panthers suck and all of that, just so they will get used to the atmosphere on the road. Because we now hopefully they will be streaming the practice, because here's what they've done in the past. Panthers.com, they're doing a great job. But for training camp, instead of having play by play that we can listen to what they talking about, instead just the old 1980s music playing in the background, and we don't get to watch what they're talking about. So of course you don't want to share secretive plays. Even though here's the deal: when we go to training camp and we record it, I'm sure, maybe I'm mistaken, but I would believe teams, what they run it up in practice, the signal, the names and all of that is not what they run in close practice. Because when you go to open practice and you hear someone say, Omar to the right, Omar right, I'm zooming,
Mhm.
I'm zooming at close practice, they probably say beef, beef, beef giant, go to the left, something like that. They, if they
Exactly.
say, they say the same stuff open and close
Mhm.
practice, then they are not smart enough. Because every team has open practice except for the Carolina Panthers. We are not going to have open practice except for FanFest. Luckily, Bank of America can hold 73,000. But how will they decide? I mean, they're probably going to have it at 10 a.m. How will they decide? Pardon me, the opening, the tickets will probably be at 10 a.m. I'm hoping that they will stream all of the practice and let us hear, at least with Steve Smith Sr., who is coming back for play by play, and maybe Anish Schwab, who is the radio announcer for the Panthers. Let them do commentary for the practice without sharing secret, but just let us know what is going on. Because when we hear music, it's boring. It's boring, and we really don't know what is going on. Sure, I understand for integrity, secretive reason they play the music, but they can do, while the music is playing or something like that, or low music, the announcer can state in without sharing secret. They can state, listen, this is the zipper formation. This is the zipper formation. Just some explanation will go a long, long way.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't have anything to add to this because I'm just not in North Carolina, so I don't know how important this is. I've never been to one. I respect you speaking for the people on, on this one.
Yeah, I mean, people. I can tell you, people in the Carolina social media were fed up, were extremely fed up. But unless Sal Perry buy the team, we're screwed. Sal Perry is the only one who can save the organization if he's a real cat. That to be determined. But he's the only one who can take over for David and Nicole Tepper. Otherwise, we are screwed. But So anyway, do we want to continue with the mock draft or
Yeah, whatever you want, man. It's your show.
sure no, but as long as we have time. So
Yeah, I
basically,
get. I got probably about 10 more minutes, maybe, but yeah,
sure,
I got time.
sure, thank you, my friend. So let's talk about the second round. We stated earlier that we think or you think that the Panthers will trade with the Giants and with the Steelers potentially.
Potentially, yeah. So overall, no matter what, I think that we will be drafting higher in the second round than 57. Whether that means that we're drafting eight and then we move up from 57, or we're drafting back in game picks, I don't see us drafting only at our second pick will not be at 57, in my opinion. Whether that means that we gained an extra pick or we moved up from 57, I think that we're going to be most likely going to be in the 40s ish. And I think that I'm just going to jump ahead to what you're probably going to ask. I think that we're going to go offensive tackle. I think one reason or the other, either whether it's Moten that we're moving on from or Icky, I think that they are not. We're spending $90 million, which is 14 million higher than the next person on our offensive line. So I think that that's not going to be the offensive line that we're going to go into the season with, and I think that our replacement will probably either be Brady Christensen or so whoever we're drafting in the third round, which could be Connerly, Ursery, or Mbao or Trapilla.
Right.
We brought
So
all those guys in.
if I remember correctly, the Giants at the moment have the 35th pick in the second round.
Mm, yeah. It's
So
possible we trade with the Bears. We get 39 back. There's a Steelers don't have another second. I don't think. I
no,
think
they
their
don't.
second's gone.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't get it from them. We would either get it from the Giants or we're trading up for 57.
Right. And you don't think like if they go Jalen Walker with the 8 or with the 11 Tatum McLean, you don't think they might go? Do you think Malachi Stark might be available all in the second?
No, I think he's going to be available. I don't think we're going to take him. So here's what Dan Morgan said. And this is why it's so important to like pay attention to every single thing that these guys say. Is that Dan Morgan literally said this like one of his first press conferences. He said, I really like the depth of the class at tight end, running back, and safety. So what that means to me is that they're okay waiting on tight end, running back, and safety. They brought Sanker in. I think Sanker is their guy. I think that's the guy that they really, really want. Um, and they might pay up for him. And I actually they probably don't. They probably try to get him in the fourth. But I could see them paying up for him and trading up for John Sanker. For at safety, I think that's who they would ideally take. And then at tight end, I think there's a ton of guys. They like Ferguson, they like Gadsden. I can see Brian Stool being the first Clemson guy that they take. Luke Lachey or Lakey, I think that he could be a tight end. And I think that running back, they brought in Henderson, which I think that's smoke and mirrors. I don't think he's going to drop enough for them. But RJ Harvey, Hunter, Ollie Gordon, I think those are the guys they're taking. I wouldn't worry about in these first three rounds in my opinion, the first three rounds is going to be a defensive pass rusher, offensive tackle, and a wide receiver in the first three picks. I
You
I,
know,
I would I would pretty much be very comfortable saying that that's things draft is crazy. Things happen, but the first three picks I think is going to be a wide receiver, a pass rusher, and uh, what did I say? And an offensive tackle. Yeah, based on who
right.
they're bringing in.
You mentioned a second ago, a minute ago, a edge rusher from Clemson.
Tight end from Clemson.
Yeah, tight end.
Brian Steele. Yeah.
The Panthers have a rule in place, unofficially
Yeah.
rule, they
Right.
cannot
Right.
have anyone from Clemson.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
I could be mistaken. Maybe you know it more than I do. I don't think they have ever drafted a player
No,
from Clemson.
not directly from Clemson. Like I think they drafted someone that played at Clemson at one point in time, maybe, but not somebody that like most recently were at was at Clemson.
So basically, they had an agreement with Clemson. We will play our first 2 years
Yeah, yeah.
in Clemson, but in return, we will never draft a player out of university. That is
Well,
for
they
sure.
didn't. What's crazy is that what I just said, right, is like the tight end, safety, and running back. They have a good tight end, safety, and running back that are projected later first round picks. So it could happen. And a linebacker. That's what's his guy? I can't remember everybody's name right now. I'm too tired to think about it. But I think the safety's name is Mickens, Mickey, something like that. And I can't remember his name. But Brian Stool is the one that I think that would be kind of perfect for the Panthers. Just a big body, tough kid, good blocker. I think that's kind of what they would be looking for. Jackson Halls at Georgia Tech would be another guy that I could see going real late from Georgia Tech. I think that's the kind of guy they're looking for. Some guy that like a Payne Durham kind of guy that was at um, Tampa. That's what they
Do
that's who
you
they're
think,
looking for. I think.
since we talked about him 2 weeks ago, at the time the allegation wasn't present, do you think Isaiah Dunn go undrafted?
Yeah. No, no, not undrafted. Not undrafted, but I don't think he's gonna be a Panther, which sucks because I liked Isaiah Bond as a player. I would have loved for him to be a Panther pre allegation, but I if when these things happen and they say I can't wait for my story to come out or I can't wait to tell my story, it usually isn't good. When you
Yeah,
say no, I have proof right away, this is ridiculous, or like when you have the police department say we're dropping all charges, or that kind of stuff.
yeah.
Like when that happens immediately, that's when you're kind of like, okay, yeah, I'm willing to take them. But when you're saying I can't wait to finally get to talk about this kind of thing, it's like, well, then I can't take that risk, bro. I can't on your word, as like 20-year-old kid, that I can't wait to explain what happened in the situation. Like, yeah, not
If,
really, not really what because he had to
if,
turn himself in, and that's another thing. Like, he had to turn himself in.
yeah,
Like they had an arrest warrant out for him. It's not like they say we have a warrant for you and he just like immediately surrendered. Yeah, like it's like talk to a lawyer. Like any of that. I don't think any teams like any of that. But I think it's like a Jermaine Burton thing. Like with Cincinnati, I think he could go in like six probably is like what's gonna happen with him.
and as far as Mike Green go, we don't know if teams have finished their investigation or not because obviously it's private. So we wouldn't know for sure because it's kind of disappointing that he has so many red flags on off the field because on the field he's probably the best player in the draft.
Yes, I mean also what Morgan said he wants to get guys from winning programs and guys coming from Marshall. And so you got to put all this stuff together, right? When you think about all this kind of stuff, because when you say something like that, you're basically talking about your first pick or your first two picks. So like that's why somebody like let's just say um, uh, I freaking know, man. Mikhail Williams and Princely. Like you got a guy from Georgia and a guy from Ohio. And Princely from Ohio State. You got a winning program. Or like say you got Golden from Texas, and then you know I would say the first two picks start thinking about like somebody coming from winning programs because they made it such a point early on, and then they kind of stopped talking about it because they're like, oh crap. But I think that's when they thought that Mason Graham was going to be there. I think they thought Mason. I think they really did think Mason Graham was going to be there at 8. And I think that was originally their guy.
Hmm.
And now I don't know if they think that's going to be there. But if he's there, I think that he's like a slam dunk. They're going to take him.
Because Mason Graham is more like Derek Brown, good edge, good run stopper, not a good pass rusher.
They would be the pass rush by committee kind of thing, which I think that's what Evero wants. Everyone wants like the guy that you're so overwhelmed by everyone that anyone can get you at any time, kind of thing.
Right, and also from an NFL standard, a Mason Graham, I believe, is relatively skinny for NFL standard, of course.
But he's so strong. He's like, I mean, I'm not comparing him to Aaron Donald, but like, think about that's kind of what people were talking about Aaron Donald. He's 6 foot tall. Like he was like, you never expected Aaron Donald to be Aaron Donald, but
Yeah.
he's just so strong and so explosive and such a generational athlete. It's just so hard, and the production's there on the field. And people will say, well, it's because he played beside guys like Grant and what Will Johnson was a mission. Like he just like played like besides so many elite players that's why he was able to do it because there's so many one on ones. But I don't know, man. I see this guy in tape and he's just.
The,
And I think that's what the Panthers said. The Panthers are like, wow, this guy's just a different level of
the,
athlete.
yeah. The only concerning devil advocate with trading so trading down and so on, they already have 9 picks. So it's not like previous year where they had, I think last year they had 7 picks, if I remember correctly. So we're already near the top. And the thing is, you draft the players, they might not, like you waste a pick. So that could be something that they might not be want to trade so many down unless, let's say you get 12 pick, 13 pick, and 11 or 12 of those are this year, you might trade multiple picks to move up.
That's it.
Otherwise,
I think that's it. Yeah.
keeping 12 pick, you, you don't have even a room on the roster. I mean, you don't want to draft a player because you have to draft someone. You want to draft someone because you think
Oh
you
yeah.
believe he has a
They're
chance.
using it for ammo. They're using it for ammo. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
There could be. I assume that in the first round they'll want to be not as aggressive, but the rest of the draft I can see them being very, very, very aggressive. Sort of like what they did last year, right? Like
Yeah.
they moved back from 39, but then they moved up again to get Brooks. Like they're going to be. I think they're going to have ammo so that they can move up when they think they need to move up.
Do you see any scenario? I know you mentioned that you think two trade is possible. Eight, they will trade from eight with the Giants and then with the Steelers at 21. Do you see any possibility that they drafted 21 Amari Empton if he's on the board?
No, I think they would draft Henderson if it was anybody. I don't think they like him. I mean, I think that Chuba because they just gave Chuba an extension. Because so then you got to think about you got to give up Chuba's contract. I think there's just too much similarity between Hampton and him. I think that if, which I don't think that they would, I really don't think they're going to get running back until the fourth or fifth. But if they did, it'd be Trayvon Henderson. One, because he had a top 30 visit. Two, he comes from a winning program, which wasn't really North Carolina last year. I mean, not compared to Ohio State. And then I just don't think they're going to go running back. I think they would go. I think they would go either wide receiver, offensive tackle, or like say that Walter Nolan is a like that's when Walter Nolan starts to come into play. People are talking about Walter Nolan at 8. He's not going to happen. But 21, I can definitely see that.
And you don't think Shamal Stewart will be available at 21?
No, he won't be available to 21. But if he is, that would be a really good pick. But I
Right.
highly doubt he's available.
21
He's
is
a lot like Mikael Williams. Like, these guys are just bananas athletes. Like they're just on a different scale of athlete that you got to take your shot at them, like developing them. If they don't work out, they don't work out. But you don't want to be the guy that didn't draft Mikael Williams or Shamar Stewart,
the,
unless
the,
there was somebody specifically that you wanted.
the problem with Shamal Stewart, 4 sacks in 4 season.
Yeah,
That
no, you're drafting the upside. Yeah, no, I get you. I understand what you're saying.
would
But man, it's just like I'm trying to think of an example of guys that are just like you just should have seen it coming. Like just these beast athletes that just had to put it together, and
Josh, I mean,
you can't teach talent. You can't teach height. You can't teach talent.
right?
But
No, Josh Allen. I mean, it. I think
that's
people.
good. That's a great one. Yeah, yeah. Josh, like man. I mean, you can miss on him, but you don't want to be the guy that didn't take him. You don't want to be the guy that like, they drafted Sam Darnold for Josh Allen. You know that kind of. But then you'll
Right.
get the Anthony Richardsons of the world that people were talking about him going one, and people were, after the first year like, why didn't we take him over Bryce Young? And they're like, yeah, because you can't throw the ball.
I think the
Like,
problem with Anthony Richardson is maturity.
yeah,
That
he didn't have the skill set, so he didn't put the but he had the talent. Like that's what's so hard about these guys with talent is that they never had to work, and that's what separates guys from like Cam Newton. I don't think Cam Newton worked on his mechanics like he should have, but he worked. That dude was always working. Um, but like you just saw, I don't know if you saw with Justin Blackman. He was the
I
uh,
feel
top.
terrible for him. I mean,
Yeah, he got just got arrested, right?
is that really Justin Blackman? Because I
Yeah,
know
yeah,
that he look we have he look completely different.
yeah, yeah. That's what
He look
happens.
completely different than how he look in real life. I mean,
Yeah,
he look like a totally
yeah.
different person.
But that's what happens. But like, you don't want to not take these guys. Like, you don't want to like overthink the room when you have these like in like Julius Peppers. Like, could you
Yeah.
imagine if we just like passed on Julius Peppers? Because he just but and think about all the people that passed on DK. This insane athlete. But he go he and then he like immediately was good. You're like, oh, how did we miss that?
But to play devil advocate, Jonathan Mingo. I mean, Steve Smith Sr. even stated Jonathan Mingo is the next DJ.
Sure, sure.
Staff, and you have to draft him, and he's so good. Same school, same university, similar upside. One is a bust at the moment. The other one is a Pro Bowler. So
Yeah, the problem is that you got to like if you're not going to take him, somebody else is going to. Like, you don't find those athletes in the third. You know, like you, and that's why the guys that had like, they do the homework and they're so good at their job. The Sean McVays of the world that just keep hitting on guys. It's because they find out who the talent that they can take that they can actually turn into elite players, and we just have never been able to really do that. So hopefully we do now. Hopefully, I mean, I don't know. We'll see.
out of curiosity, we know roughly the Titans probably told Cam Ward. Do you think by now, uh, 9:38, less than 24 hours before the draft, teams typically telling players who they might draft or agent, I mean, or they typically hold it up close until very close to the draft, like right when
He
they are.
knows. He knows. He knows. Number one picks usually know outside of the Bryce situation because we didn't know we were going to be staying at one. Cam knows.
So you
He
think,
knows just like Trevor Lawrence knew, just like a lot of dudes number one, like Caleb Williams knew.
right?
Caleb
No,
Williams knew last year.
no, no, no. What I meant is other players in the first round. Do you think they,
No, I think this is gonna be the Wild West. I don't think anyone knows outside of number one.
which in a way, it's going to be a fun draft night, even though the draft on paper is not supposed to be very good. On paper,
Uh, well, it's on paper, it's not very good as far as elite, but it's
yeah.
probably the. I mean, last year's draft was just bananas. How much talent was in it? But outside of last year, I mean, it's a from 1 to 32. It's a pretty strong draft. It's just the upside guys aren't
It,
really there. I think you're going to
it
see picks moved. I think you're going to see picks move fairly cheap because of people just wanting to to draft their guy, but they're not going to be. It's their guy based, but they're not like obsessed with these guys. Like I don't think that anybody's going to. The only
Basically,
time I can go ahead.
no, I was going to say tomorrow night, basically grab your popcorn, grab your soft drink, and get ready for a long night. Even if your team is
A
not
lot of
kicking,
action.
get ready for action. If you like drama, action, this draft in particular is going to be the draft for you. But if you're not, basically, if you're a Titans fan, 9 o'clock, pardon me, 9 o'clock Eastern or 8:35 Eastern time,
Mm,
7:35 Central time, you can go to bed. You can
yeah,
literally go to bed because you don't have an additional first round pick. You're probably not going to trade into the first round. So
yeah,
Titan,
probably not.
you can go to bed. The rest
Yeah.
of you stay up.
Hmm.
Probably not.
It'll be fun. Yeah. But dude, my phone's. I'm at 2%, so I'm about to die, and I gotta go anyways.
Yeah,
But we'll talk about meeting up tomorrow for the draft.
sure, absolutely. And if not, next Wednesday draft recap, but we'll see about tomorrow.
Sounds good, bro.
Thank you.
I'll see you next
Thanks.
time.
Good night.
Yeah. Later.